I'm going to talk in a couple of segments today about the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. Now, it's become clear from the January 6th cases and also from other cases that the FBI functions kind of like a criminal gang. It's more dangerous than a normal gang for the simple reason that these are thugs with badges. They have the authority to get subpoenas, they can get warrants, they can kick down your door, and it's legal. It's legal because they are the police agency of the government. They also have the power of getting money from the government, congressional appropriations. They've obviously got the DOJ and the Biden regime behind them. So this is probably the most dangerous gang in the world. But I want to talk about a second aspect of the FBI that often goes ignored, and that is they have become the Federal Bureau of Disinformation. Now, when I was telling Debbie about this, she's like, "You mean misinformation?" I said, "No, I mean disinformation." So what's the difference between misinformation and disinformation? Well, misinformation is when you get something wrong. You're misinformed. Disinformation is when you are a deliberate conduit of falsehood, when you exist like a propaganda organization to tell lies, to suppress truth, and to promote things that aren't true. And my point is that the FBI falls into that category, the Federal Bureau of Disinformation. And this is confirmed in the latest trove of the Twitter files. I think it's 7, it might be 8. Anyway, it's the latest sequence that's put out by Michael Schellenberger on Twitter. And it revisits the Hunter Biden story, but with greater precision and greater detail. So let's follow through a couple of the key points. Number one, the FBI had the Hunter Biden laptop. They had direct access to the inner workings of the Biden crime family, the way in which this racketeering organization called the Bidens, by the way, they probably built this on the model of the Clinton Foundation with some modifications. Biden kind of wanted to run his more like the Gambino family, kind of like a family racket, deploying the family members as bagmen, including, of course, Hunter Biden. Well, the FBI knew all this. They also knew for a fact that the laptop was authentic. But they began a disinformation campaign even before the New York Post published its story on the laptop in October of 2020. They began a campaign working with social media and working with mainstream media to discredit the laptop. So think about this. The FBI is functioning. And by the way, this is the FBI under Trump. The FBI under Trump is functioning as an ideological disinformation operation to help Biden win the election. And this is going on in the months leading up to the election. Now, we can see from the Schellenberger release, the Twitter files, that the FBI is now communicating with Twitter. And they're asked, is there any new intelligence that makes you believe that the Russians are trying to interfere with the 2020 election in the same way that the FBI had claimed that the Russians were trying to manipulate the 2016 election? And as it turns out, FBI agent Elvis Chan admits, no. He goes, through our investigations, we did not see any similar competing intrusions to what happened in 2016. Twitter confirms to the FBI that, quote, we haven't seen any evidence to support that claim, meaning the claim of foreign interference on the Twitter platform. Quote, our review thus far shows a small-scale domestic troll effort. So Twitter tells the FBI, no, this is not a matter of foreign interference. But the FBI nevertheless pressures Twitter to censor the Hunter Biden story. In fact, they go to the extent of saying, hey, Twitter, we will give some of you guys at Twitter security clearances so you can actually see our intel about foreign intervention in the election. So they're giving Twitter the idea that you can sort of be part of the FBI. You can be in with the FBI. And not to mention the fact, and this is something that I think nobody knew prior to the release of the latest Twitter files, the FBI was funneling large amounts of money to Twitter. Twitter was actually profiting off of the FBI. The FBI is actually paying Twitter to be a conduit for disinformation. Here, this is actually, this is from Twitter. Quote, I am happy to report that we have collected $3,415,000, 323 since October 2019. This is James Baker. Now, what makes all this really interesting is James Baker is himself a former FBI guy. And this is the point. Twitter is full of these FBI guys and CIA guys and deep state guys who have been hired after they left the government. So you have the deep state FBI working with the deep staters inside of Twitter. This is how this operation is actually executed. If you look at this Jim Baker guy, he's former general counsel to the FBI. He's moved in and out of government. He did a stint at CNN. He was at the Brookings Institution. This is how this stuff all operates. And he wasn't, as I say, the only one. Dawn Burton, former deputy chief of staff of the FBI. She was deputy to James Comey. She joined Twitter in 2019 as, quote, director of strategy. And these FBI people at Twitter there were so many of them, they created their own sort of sub-channel inside of Twitter where they could communicate with each other. In other words, it's mini FBI inside of Twitter. So this is how this works. This is what the left has done to corrupt the FBI and then use the corrupt FBI to corrupt Twitter.